down there in our esteemed capital in Austin, Texas. We already, Trevor, have a QB change. I cannot wait to hear you break down this QB change right off the heels of a pretty embarrassing, is it foretelling loss? Is it a foreshadowing, if you will, of what's to come? Who knows?
Oh, my gosh.
They went and got their butts smacked by Arkansas, for those of you guys who don't or didn't watch it, which is totally fine because they're Texas. They went up and got beat 40-21. Trevor, what are your thoughts, one, on the game? What did you see before we move on to next week? But more importantly, what do you think about this transition?
Well, for all you listeners out there that are a little Bryce and I's time, my dad for sure, some of you other folks, this is an old Southwest Conference showdown between the Horns and the Razorbacks, baby, right? I mean, Cotton Bowl written all over it.
Yep.
Of course, we've moved away from that as the Big 12 opened up, but you saw the stands there in Fayetteville. These young kids, they got a history lesson, and they remember what that rivalry was all about. And Texas came out and got slapped around in the trenches to start out. I mean, the offensive line at Texas, wake up, man. I'm not going to put it all on Hudson Card because this is a team game. But you watch those guys. You've got some experienced players, and there was some really good play from some of the veteran guys. There was. It wasn't across the board. But some of these dudes that they're relying on up front at Texas just did not get it done on Saturday night. And then what everybody's talking about, Hudson Card, you got 2 weeks. You played pretty good in week 1. You came out. You didn't play well this week. And Steve Sarkisian makes the decision to early on, before they even get back out on the practice field, go ahead and say, hey, we've given you enough time. We're going to go ahead and let Casey Thompson start this game. Bryce, I've got a couple things right and wrong with it. Number one, hey, you get an opportunity, come in and make the most of your opportunity. I have experience with that. Played for the Arizona Cardinals. I got to play 3 quarters in Mile High Stadium against the Denver Broncos in our last preseason game to try to make the squad. I played horrible. I threw my only touchdown pass in my NFL career, and it was not to our team. It was a pick 6. And I didn't make the most of my opportunity, so I was punished for it. I got called in the next morning, walked into the head coach and GM's office, and I got my butt cut. And I know this is college. I know that you need to give these guys a little bit longer of a chance. I'll get to my polarizing comment here in a second, but you got to get it done when the opportunity is at hand, right? That being said, looking over your shoulder is a hard place to be as a quarterback. When hey, if I make one mistake, I'm going to get benched, and then that to actually happen, that is tough. Bryce, what are your thoughts on the Hudson Card change to Casey Thompson from a mentality standpoint? Is Casey Thompson ready to rock and roll and could take this thing over? Does that ruin the chances of Hudson Card having any confidence the rest of the year if Casey doesn't get it done? What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Koa's got thoughts. Look, I'm not a fan of this at all, right? So here's the thing. When a new coaching staff comes into the office or the locker room, rather, for these guys, they got to know that what their decision is and who they pick, that's who they're riding with. You can't sit there and have an opportunity or rather just the misfires in a quarterback's, between his ears are all about security, right? Mm-hmm. It is to know, look, I can go out fire and know and be a gunslinger, right? That's what you want to be. That's what you want to do. And so, look, Steve Sarkisian, he made this decision. He needs to stick with it. This is a redshirt freshman kid, right? There are times where he's going to have to be battle tested. And going into Fayetteville, you already mentioned it. It was not going to be an easy environment whatsoever. They were down the whole time, right? That's why you have to watch a game, because stat sheets, everything else like that doesn't matter. They're down the whole time in a place where that snowball that was on top of that mountain turned into a freaking avalanche really, really quick, to where all the momentum's on Arkansas side. And that's just tough, man. It's tough to not have that experience. one, within a locker room, within a team, within a huddle to know, hey, man, we're good. If you guys watch the Chiefs game on Sunday, dude, when my guy 15, when Pat rolls into the huddle, guys know it doesn't matter if they're down by 30, if they're down by 5, they're in the ball game. And you got to have battle tests and moments to know that. And so for Steve Sarkisian to say, hey, look, Hudson Card's our guy. He showed me enough in spring, he showed me enough in fall, enough to say that Casey Thompson and what he did last year and what he's done since he's been here. Remember, he's a junior. So he's been with this team. The team knows him, played fantastic. Again, coming off the bench when Sam Ellinger got hurt in the Alamo Bowl last year. All that doesn't matter. Hudson Card's our guy. And then at the first sign of adversity for this kid, they pull him. And that's tough. It's a tough situation for anybody to be in. But look, I think that this, to your point as well, is coming way too soon. And I thought Casey Thompson should have been the guy the whole time. He wasn't, and now you're kind of paying for it. And this is the culture that Texas has kind of been in this world the last 10 years is I give you a game and then poof, it's gone. There's somebody else. And the thing is, there's not always greener pastures, even though I feel like Casey Thompson should have been the guy the whole time.
I agree. And it's interesting. We were talking about this a little bit with our little text group. All the QBs that Texas has missed out on in the state of Texas, Drew Brees, Nick Foles, Case Keenum, Baker Mayfield, Pat Mahomes,
yep,
so on, Matt Stafford, so on and so forth down the list. They finally get a guy from down the road, Lake Travis, basically the same story as Garrett Gilbert, right? They both went to the same high school. They're like Travis. They're down the road. They secure them. They keep them in state. They come in. Is another Garrett Gilbert story, or is it a issue, right? I mean, Garrett Gilbert, he's still playing in the No Fun League. He had some talent, and he wasn't able to stay there. He went and had a great career at SMU, and now is doing a great job in the NFL. So it's a cultural issue. We know that, but at what point is it going to get turned around? I do not know. But, back to the Casey and Hudson specific thing, Casey now looks at this, and he's not dumb. He knows that if he goes out there and makes a mistake, they can make a switch right back. So messing with a young QB's mind, at least maybe not even by year, right? You mentioned Casey Thompson's been there for multiple years, but messing with their mind in terms of youth experience-wise on the field is tough. I've been there. It is tough to play looking over your shoulder. The reason Pat Mahomes can throw the ball with his left hand is because he knows Andy Reid isn't going to pull him out afterwards, right? I mean, it's the same premise. So we'll see. I hope the best for Casey Thompson. I played with his brother at OU. Shout out Kendall. Kendall's doing great things and had an awesome career himself. But, man, I hope he goes out there and blows it up because it's good for our conference. When Texas is good, it's good for our conference, right?
I agree with that. Well, you got Rice coming into town. Look, it was kind of – it's not that it was embarrassing. It was just one of those things that there was so much hype. They played really good against Louisiana Lafayette, and then it's great. You got the guys on Monday going, this is the same old Texas, right? Just like it's the same old Jets. Even though at the end of the day, I do think that Casey gives them a spark that they need because he's been there. Again, he knows the locker room. The locker room knows him. It was a different kind of team. Again, different situations, but a different team when Casey came in and just marched them down the field and scored. Now, a whole other conversation is that defense. That in and of itself needs to be – I mean, they got punched in the mouth again and again and again, over 300 yards. You can't do that. So my question, not only what's going on in Austin, that QB room, but what's going on with that team, the identity, those guys, again, Bijan Robinson, you got to have your bell cows. You got to know who the ball is going to, and you got to get it done. That's just where it is. But these guys need leadership. They need leadership to figure out what's going on in Austin because, to your point, man, when Texas is rolling, everything just seems different. It just seems different. They got to get way more competitive.